This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. We're here to talk more about the legal guidance to protect your assets from the law offices of Julie A. Schejbal. Guess what? She joins us here again today live on the show to talk more about the work she does as an estate attorney. And once again, this is at the law offices of Julie A. Schejbal. How are you today?
I'm great, Jill. How about yourself?
Great. How is it down in Maryland? You're in specifically Dunkirk, right?
Right. So it's in the southern area of Maryland. It's nice. It's going to be 90 and sunny today. So we'll turn the corner with warm weather, I hope. So
Same
summer's
here. I
here.
know. I'm sweat. It's hot today in the office. Well, we're excited that you're back to talk more about the work you're doing with full service estate planning. Just a little overview about the type of work you do before we get into today's specifics about organizing this estate plan.
Perfect. So I am a full service estate planning firm. So I do wills, trusts, powers of attorney, medical directives, basically anything to help people plan their wealth to transfer to the next generation or wherever they want it to go. Additionally, I help them with probate after somebody passes away, a parent or a grandparent, to help them through that. So we do all the full service gamut of things that is available in that area.
Beautiful. Well, we're excited that you're back here today and really have provided myself and our audience with so much knowledge the past few weeks of us talking about this. So let's get to it and talk a little bit more about the estate plan. And for those that may not know, just a little overview of what it is. And then let's go over the steps to start organizing that, please.
Sure. So an estate plan will at least include 3 to 4 basic documents. Everybody, I believe, should have a medical directive or a healthcare power of attorney, a financial power of attorney. And what these two documents do is the financial power of attorney appoints someone to handle your financial affairs if you're unable to do so. So you've lost capacity, or maybe you're even just, you have capacity, but you're overseas and you can't handle things back here in the States. Somebody could be handling those affairs for you currently. And then a medical power of attorney appoints somebody to make your medical decisions for you. In Maryland, that document's actually called an advanced medical directive. So what that includes is not only somebody to make your medical decisions, but also the idea of like a living will, where you're saying, this is the kind of healthcare treatment I want at the end of my life. And then it
Beautiful.
also includes the other 2 documents, or the third document is a will. Most people are
Beautiful.
familiar with will. Set this up. This is how we're going to transfer our money and property to the next generation or a charity or wherever we want our money to go after we pass away. And then the possible 4th document is a revocable trust. And so what a revocable trust does is it has sort of combines the aspects of a power of attorney. So the first part of it is it sets up somebody to handle your financial affairs while you're alive. That's the trustee. And then the second part of it is it's like the will, and that part says this is where I want my money and property to go when I die. Trusts make a lot of noise in popular media, and that assets in the trust avoid probate. That's 100% true. But I think the bigger advantage of a trust is that it is the best vehicle to handle incapacity. So if you are older and you're worried that you're going to, your capacity is slipping, or you're just concerned about that, that is actually an easier vehicle for your children or whoever's going to handle your affairs.
Got it.
And then there's a myriad of documents to go up that pyramid that may be used depending on people's net worth and their situation in life.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about, how we're prepping for the meeting and the prep for beneficiaries and all that.
So one of the things to prep for the meeting is when people come into my office, I have a questionnaire. It's about 3 or 4 pages long. I ask them to complete it. And basically, it's just basically for me to get preliminary information. The names of your kids, your names of you and your spouse, maybe some information about where you want your money to go. Some people come in and say, hey, I have pets. I want to take care of my dogs or my cat. And so it gives me some information there. And it also, hopefully, it jogs sort of questions in the client's mind so they can write them down or make a note of it so we can go over all of that in the meeting. So, but the prep isn't a long time. No offense to my financial advisor, he gave me a questionnaire the other day, and it was like 15 pages. Like it's just not nearly that intense, but it's
Mm-hmm.
something that helped organize things. And then I think after the plan is done, a couple things you can do for your kids or whoever's going to handle your affairs after you die is basically organize some things. Your children may not know what kind of assets you have. They may
Yeah.
not be familiar about your life insurance. They may not be familiar about various investments. Heck, you might be married and your spouse may not know because maybe
Mm-hmm.
you're the person handling all these investments. So at least make a list, whether it's on your computer or a handwritten list of who my financial advisor is, where do I have life insurance, who's my accountant, who prepares my taxes, who's my attorney, and let people know where this list is so that when you die, it's not like they have to go through the great asset hunt and try to find things. And then the other part of that is a little different, and it's to make sure that if you have 401k or life insurance assets, that those beneficiary designations are up to date.
Mm-hmm.
List whoever your current people are. You don't want to die and your kids go, oh, there's mom's life insurance policy, and maybe the beneficiary was dad, which was great, but dad's passed away too, and there's nobody else left on the policy. So you want to make sure that stuff is kept up to date and cleaned up.
Got it. All right. And, there's a lot of, life changes, right, that can
Yeah,
impact an estate plan. Could you talk a little about some of those as well?
sure. So some actually impact the plan more than others. When I do planning for younger clients and they have kids, ironically, one of the things that doesn't impact their plan is having another child. So if
Yeah.
you have one, you have two, you have three, the plan is drafted in a way that it will include these children going forward. So you don't have to worry about, okay, as major life event as that is for the client, it doesn't really impact their documents. But things that can impact it are like looking at who you selected to handle your affairs, and
Yeah.
maybe you look back at them and they were appropriate 3 or 4 years ago, but they've moved away, or their life changes are different and you don't want them handling your affairs anymore. Those are things that will impact it. And then getting older, I mean, I talk about sort of the stages of estate planning. The first group would be we're doing it when your children are younger. You're picking guardians, you're picking people and maybe the people handling your affairs are then your siblings, or maybe sometimes your parents. And then as you get to the second phase, that might be your children are now adults, and you're like, okay, now I can handle. I need to kick my parents to the curb because they are now way are older, and I don't think they should be handling it. Or, what's the thing about our siblings? As we get older, they get older. So we may say, okay, now I don't want my siblings either because they're older. But the kids are now adults and they can handle this. So we're going to redo it to move out the siblings, move the kids in. And then the third stage is sort of the planning that may take place after the first spouse dies.
Got it.
Again, you're maybe older, we're doing different things, and your husband or wife may not be around. And then so that is all things to impact. And then sometimes changes in the law, right? We can't control any of that. So, and sometimes the changes may impact you immediately. Others may be less impactful, and those might be things you might update your docs as you come in for other major updates, if that makes sense.
Got it. Thank you so much. Well, also, how flexible really are these plans? And, do you have to update them all the time? And we're going to talk a little about special needs planning as well.
Yeah, so I hope that my plans are drafted flexible enough that you don't have to update them all the time. So that what I mean is, like, we're talking about, like I said, client comes in with children. My documents are drafted in a way that says if you have another child, he or she is incorporated into this plan so that you don't have to worry about updating it for, the growing family. Similarly, like with grandchildren, sometimes I have clients that are saying, okay, I want to leave money to my grandchildren. We'll keep that in a sort of broad manner so that if you go from three grandchildren to four or five, you haven't cut out the new ones.
Yeah.
And And then some of it's also looking at, well, what happens if I've got, 3 kids, they're adults, my age, I'm not having any more kids, whatever that looks like, that's fine. But then you may say, well, what happens? Sometimes it's the unforeseen, we're looking at what happens if one of my children dies.
Ah,
And
yep.
then, but the plan then includes, well, in that case, we have trigger points. They'll say this was what's going to happen to his or her share. And then, and I always tell clients, look, when you come in my office, you go through the black cloud, right? So sometimes we're even looking at, particularly for younger families, what are we going to do if you're not survived by children or grandchildren?
Yep.
So when they're younger, they're thinking, my kids are 5. I'm not even thinking about my grandchildren, but this is sort of the idea of like, you guys are all on the way to soccer practice and there's a horrific car accident or something. And so then you might put this sort of catastrophic provision of my money and property is going to go to my charity or my siblings or wherever. So you're trying to create a lot of what ifs in the documents.
Got it. All right. And we're going to talk a little bit more about special needs planning, right? And
Sure.
also, how does an inheritance impact all of this? And by the way, we are here talking to our estate expert and attorney. That's right. Full service estate planning law firm, Julie A. Schejbal. She is the lady in charge as the owner and estate attorney. We're excited she's joining us here today on the show. And over the past few weeks, we've got to learn more about estate planning, about wills, about trust, and about all these documents that we need. And really, it's a big wake up call, I think, to so many of us out there who may not have planned and may be uncomfortable planning their death. It's part of life. And I'm just urging everyone to really tune in and listen to some of the past podcasts as well for more information. Let's continue. So, special needs planning, Julie.
So special needs is really, it's sort of the category of it's benefits that people who are disabled have qualified for. So these are governmental benefits. They might include some, stipend every month and also access to medical benefits. And what the problem is with this is, one, I don't do any qualifying for people, but my understanding is getting somebody qualified, a child or an adult, for this benefit or this aid is quite difficult. So once you've gotten somebody qualified, you don't want them to inadvertently be disqualified. And so one of the things that can happen is that, so the other thing is special needs or SSI, that's Social Security income, is based on what I would call means tested. So what that
Yeah.
means is that you can only have, Jill, as a single individual, $2,000 of assets in your pocket at any time. If you go over that number, you are disqualified. So where you can have this, where the danger runs is, have a child with a disability, they have this, they're qualified for special needs, and they inherit money from grandma or grandpa
Mm-hmm.
or dad or mom, and they haven't even thought about it. And whatever they inherit, it's going to put them over the $2,000 limit, and they're going to be disqualified. And so then what's going to happen is they'll have this money, they'll be disqualified. They can spend the money, for their care, but then
Yeah.
somebody's going to have to requalify them. So
Yeah.
it's often not a path you want to go down. So the key with that is, with special needs planning, is to, be cognizant of it. And then if you are the parent or grandparent or whatever in your plan, instead of saying,
Yeah.
I'm leaving everything to my kids
Mm-hmm.
equally, I'm going to put the money for the special needs child in a special needs or supplemental needs trust. And
Yeah.
it's created in your will or estate planning document. But what happens is it's drafted in a way that no matter how much money you put in there, it doesn't count as a resource. So you could put a large amount of money, $5 million in there. And if it's drafted correctly, this is under current law, it would not disqualify this person for their governmental benefits.
Got it. Interesting. Thank you for that. All right. What
Sure.
else do we have next on tap here?
So one of the things is that, when you're looking at this, so you can establish this under a will or a trust,
Okay.
and it's going to provide financial support for your child above what the government's um, going to provide. Now, the one thing that can happen is that with this is that you're looking at this trust is set up for this child's lifetime. So a couple of problems may happen is one, who's going to be the trustee? We have to have somebody who's going to run the trust. And so we need somebody who hopefully has a pretty long lifetime horizon. Or sometimes people say, I don't have anybody. I, you know, my spouse quit on us. I don't like, there's bad behavior everywhere, right? So I can't find anybody. There's nobody suitable in my family. Maybe I was an only child and I just don't have anybody that would help me do this. What am I going to do? And then, or the people come in and they recognize this as an issue, but they just don't have maybe the ample money to make doing the trust worthwhile. So the other thing you can look at, in some states, they have an idea of what's called like a pooled income trust. And that's run by a nonprofit and has been deemed eligible by the state. And then what happens is you can put the money in this pooled trust and then the nonprofit will manage it. The advantage of that is the nonprofit is an ongoing entity. So you don't have to worry about needing to replace somebody. And also if it's a smaller amount of money, you're getting this idea of the shared wealth with the expenses of the trust. But it will do the same thing about keeping people eligible for their SSI. So that's something people can look into if they're sitting there going, I don't know what to do. I don't have anybody to run it, or ultimately I, don't have enough money, whatever it looks like. So there's different options there. And then, the difference that with sometimes people look at, well, how does this trust differ from a trust that I might set up in my will
Yeah.
for my children? So basically, that the special needs or supplemental needs trust has more restrictions on distribution of money. So you can't distribute the money for things that are covered by the government. So primary medical care or food or things like that. Even if you say, well, I could use this money and get Jill better benefits or more
Yeah.
food or whatever. So a trust that you would set up, just sort of a traditional trust, has broader distribution provisions. So that's one benefit, one large difference. And so we're always looking at planning is, do we need this trust? Do we need a special needs or supplemental needs trust? And we need it. We want to put it in, but it's also ferreting out whether this is actually necessary. You know, to really determine what is going on here. And then the other thing is sometimes the special needs trust, when a person dies, the money will go back to the state to basically reimburse the state for the cost of care that they have provided for this individual during their lifetime. Traditional trust ends, the money goes wherever Jill wanted it to go. Other children, charity, whatever that looks like. So those are some key differences.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We still got plenty more time to continue the conversation about protecting ourselves and our legal assets here. And what else in particular should we be aware of about, the trust and how, we can continue with our estate planning?
So I think one of the things is, get started, right? So,
Yeah.
when we talk about procrastination being the universal evil or something like that. So it's, start thinking about it, get started, look for an attorney in your area. If you live in Connecticut or Hawaii or whatever, make sure you get started and start thinking about it. And, don't worry about, if I do my will, I'm going to die. It's not going to happen. I mean, well, everybody's going to die, but it's not, doing your will has not, to my knowledge, killed any of my clients yet. So you want to start thinking about it. Really, particularly, if you have young children or, children with special needs, or just you have money that you want to transfer somewhere. You've worked hard for your money. You should use your money should work hard for you. Obviously, you should also use. The other thing is, I would say the key is, my favorite estate plan is spending your money before you die. So don't,
Yes.
you know, that is
Can't
the
take
best.
it with you when you go, right? Might as well live your
Exactly.
best life. I know so many people who a lot of their regrets. They didn't travel more. They didn't spend more of
Yeah.
what they had. They thought they had to hold on to it, right? Oh,
Right. And I mean, of course, there is that line of, like, having enough. And, if we all knew we had an expiration date like our milk carton, we would all go out and travel continuously. But yes, spend it while you're alive as much as you can. Enjoy your life. But then think about, well, if you have money left over, where should it go? Because it is important that it go where you want it to go and not where the state says or whatever.
Beautiful. Well, also, with the work that you're doing, for those out there interested, you're able to work with them in what states, just so they're aware?
So I'm admitted in Maryland. So
Mm-hmm.
Maryland, I'm not admitted anywhere else. But if there are people who have questions, I have done work with other attorneys in other states, so I may be able to say, hey, well, yeah, you can
Yeah,
call Sam. He was a great guy. He helped me out on this case. So it's not implausible that I might not know. I might have a referral. And if
got
not,
it.
one of the things is you look for an attorney, just like you might look for a doctor or a mechanic or an accountant. If you're looking for somebody, doctor, and you're looking for, you sprained your ankle, you're going to go to an orthopedic, not maybe somebody who does gastro work or something. So it's the same
Got
kind
it.
of thing. Look for somebody who is practices in this area because there's a
Well,
lot of good attorneys out there. Just like I think I'm good at this, I would be lousy at divorce.
mm.
So there's a trade off there.
Now, are there some common mistakes maybe that you want to tell us in regards to what, common mistakes people make when they do this estate planning, as you call it, right? Is that what it
Yep.
is?
Uh-huh. Well, I think one failure plan, number one mistake, but number two, I think is they don't really, when they're planning, they don't really think about who would be appropriate to handle their affairs. That
Got it.
they just say, oh, I think the number one mistake in that area is I need to pick Julie because Julie's the oldest.
Yeah,
And hopefully in the meeting when they're telling me that, if Julie isn't the right one, they've said out of their mouth sort of comes out, but she's not really good at it, right?
hmm,
So, um, because you want to pick who you think is best, and sometimes that can be the oldest, but sometimes it might be the youngest or fifth in line or whatever, because that really goes a long way to making things less muddled and cutting the tension in the family after you pass away.
got it.
So that's a key factor. And that's, basically sounds simple. I think it is, but it's really important.
Beautiful. All right. And just for those out there wondering, there are still so many other services that you can provide and help people with. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that?
So yes, so I do, again, we do a whole estate plan, do the probate work, and then we do elder law, which is kind of an offshoot of all of that, which is like guardianship work and sometimes helping with Medicaid. So there's a lot of different things we do in that kind of arena. We try to stay at my office, we try to stay out of court as much as possible. So if you
Ex-
have, litigation questions, this is probably not the right office to go to. So,
Beautiful. And what do you love most about the work that you're doing with your clients, over the years to go into this such specific type of niche? What is it that, brings you joy each day when you're working with someone?
so I think uh, two things. One, it is, refreshing people. People are coming in mostly kind of on a positive note, right? They have created this wealth and now they want to leave it to their children or the next generation. So I think that's sort of a very positive aspect of it. And that's, nice. And then the other thing that happens is, I mean, it might surprise you, but a lot of people come in and they're actually in a good mood. So we get to talk and we have good conversations because unlike, maybe divorce work where you're coming in to see the attorney because you're just had it with your spouse, you're naturally going to be angry, and everything probably in the meeting that I would bring up makes you more and more angry. This is generally positive. So I think that, and then the meetings generally are held on a positive note. So I think that's actually a good thing. And sometimes it's a little bit like uh, finding square holes to fit round pegs, or that people come in with uh, an idea and we'll work together to, maybe it's not a polished idea and maybe it isn't the going to be totally workable, but maybe we'll work around it and we find one that is workable under the law and what they gets them pretty close to what they want. So it's kind of the puzzle aspect of it too, I think.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, for
Sure.
being here and giving us all this insight each and every week. I can't believe it's been 6 episodes so far. And of
I
course, you
know.
could always go back and review the others. Thank you so much, Julie.
You're welcome, Jill. You have a wonderful day and a great weekend.
You too. Would you mind telling us how we can contact you?
Oh, sure. You can reach me at 410-286-8100. That's the office phone number. Or you can email me at Julie, Julie, at JAS Estate Law. That's ESTATELAW.com.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much again
Okay.
for being here, for joining us, and I hope you have a great day, okay?
You do the same. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again,
Take care.
Julie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.